just start off super fast with ways to learn the names of the notes on the strings. Um, so yeah, so just what I recommend to students. And I'm guessing like you've already made more progress, but I'm just going to start from scratch here. Okay, so the first thing that I recommend doing is breaking the fretboard kind of into like two parts. So not literally breaking, but like separating it out, basically up until the fifth fret. I recommend everybody destroys their guitar. So basically, we're going up until the fifth fret, and then we're going to do sixth fret to 12th fret. And so what I recommend doing is just going up the frets chromatically. And so you just go, open E string, and then you just say the names of the notes once. So F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. And if students aren't there yet, and they don't know about like the names of the strings and things like that, then I can go a little bit more fundamental than that. But yeah, it's basically what I'd recommend doing is just starting off naming them, just so that you know that if you need to really figure it out, you can eventually figure it out, even if it's not like fast, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then from there, what I'll have people do is basically set a timer for like 5 minutes. And for 5 minutes, I'll just have them quiz themselves on notes. Like if I'm doing this with a student, I'll play a fret and ask them what note it is. And I'll play a different fret and ask them what note it is. And then sometimes with students, I'll say the name of a note and I'll ask them to play it. But what students can also do on their own is just play one note at a time, and be like, oh, what is this? Third fret on the low E string. This is G. This is F sharp. And basically, if you just work on that for like 5 minutes, because the options that you're working with are like so limited, you should be able to cover a lot of ground very quickly. And so basically, that's a way to like practice just for 5 minutes the names of the notes on those frets, and then you can do the same thing with frets 6 through 12. So you played this. You think about what it is. C. This is B. And then you can do that with for example, the whole string. And then if the next day you try to do it again and you're forgetting things, or you're like, oh, I just had this figured out yesterday. Why isn't it sticking again today? Um, what goes on when you're learning fret names is that you're basically when you're basically taking in new information, you're building all these new like neural pathways and stuff. And so even if on one day you get it really like sharp and clear, then it might not necessarily be super fresh like the next day. And so you might need to kind of rebuild the pathways for like a few days in your brain to get things like kind of connected. But usually, I mean, I see people getting a lot of results if they work on this for 4 or 5 days. Like it should be covered. And so then obviously, like guitarists tend to be more familiar with the low E string and the A string, and less familiar with kind of the middle strings. And people are often familiar with the high E string. Um, and so, so because the high E string and the low E string, the note names are all the same, these kind of connect to each other. Like learning one helps with learning the other. Yeah, and basically what I recommend doing is like just kind of going one string at a time. For some people who are just working on the middle strings and they get lost with note names on the D string, or on the G string or on the B string, I'll recommend that they work on that. And if you really wanted to knock this out, you could work on this for like 30 minutes a day or more, over the course of a week or something, and then you'd probably have it solved forever. And so that's just how I recommend people learn note names. And I think something that I have sometimes assumed is that people have a better grasp of that than they turn out to have. And so and so I just I appreciate you asking about that, and I should probably include something in the actual course, which is just like, here's how you get this knocked out. So does that make sense?
It a little bit. So yeah, I have some of the fretboard mapped out mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I'm wondering about is like if I'm, and because I've run into this in my own, trying to practice this.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, if I'm quizzing myself, but I don't know what the names are, how do I know if I make an error
Oh,
in the
yeah.
moment?
Okay, yeah. So there's the question. I guess step one is like, um, if you think about it, can you figure it out? And if the
Mhm.
answer is no, then a different kind of exercise is like necessitated. But if you can think about it and like it just takes you like 4 seconds to figure it out or something, then that's a different thing than having no tools through which to figure out what the names of the notes are.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I guess I guess I should have clarified. My assumption is I forget which one, but the being able to like immediately know what all of them are. Not because like I can just, I can count up, I can count down, I can count from like a note that I do know, but it's not all like there's still fog of war somewhere
Yeah,
out there.
totally.
That's that's what I'm trying to figure out is how do I like what's the best way to figure out exactly where the problems are and then like focus on just those things and then also like figure out if I've succeeded or not, I guess.
Totally. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I'm down to spend like a decent chunk of time on this to make sure that we've got it really practically worked out, and then we can get into some of the stuff with chords. But yeah, I just want to apply this in like a very direct way. So could we, yeah, do you have your guitar on hand?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Yeah, so let's just start off with notes on the low E string.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So all right, yeah. So obviously, also just really quick diagnostic. I mean, you know the names of the strings and everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. For the sake of the recording, I'll say that the way that I used to teach this to students when I was teaching kids was like elephants and donkeys grow big ears. So elephants and donkeys grow big ears. That's a thing. Um, okay, so with that being said, okay, let's just go up the low E string to the fifth fret. So do you know what the yeah? Can you play the first fret on the low E string?
Yeah. So uh F sharp,
Yep.
B, A, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So that's immediate.
right.
Okay, cool. Like, do you know if I said play the eighth fret on the low E string? Do you know what note that would be?
I don't think in terms of fret numbers, but if you told me the note, I could play the note.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, can you play C on the low E string?
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually D.
Oh, sorry. This is a problem I run into frequently. I play in drop D more than half the time.
Oh,
Um,
okay, okay.
and so uh so I need to counteract that muscle memory because that's most of my learning comes from playing like Irish rhythm guitar. And
Hmm.
so that is very anchored to like the low two strings.
Yeah,
And those I'm very solid on, because I have to be able to like play chords all the way up and down the neck and slide and all that. So it's basically just the top four strings. And also I need to be able to instantaneously rewrite all of that into standard versus drop D, depending on which tuning I'm in.
right.
So
Okay.
that's
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so there's an interesting thing here, which is not thinking in fret numbers. And I think there's a lot to be said for not needing to think in fret numbers. But it seems like that could be kind of like I mean, I want to learn more about how you work through this stuff, if that's something that you're not thinking about so much.
yeah.
Because that, like, although I think it's really not good to only be able to think in fret numbers or to like only learn from tabs or anything, for example, it is useful to be able to, like find the eighth fret quickly.
Yeah, I started uh like the first half of my guitar journey was all in tab, so I used to be more familiar with thinking in that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
I've kind of shifted over and haven't really gone back to thinking that way in a while. So
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, so let's go up through the rest of the low E strings. Let's start from the sixth fret.
cool. So A sharp, B, uh, C. Wait a
Hmm.
second. I'm like, wait, B sharp? No. And harmonics C sharp, D sharp. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So there's an interesting thing there where, when you went from B to C and there was the B sharp, there was some thinking going on there, I think. And so what we want to do is have that go from thinking to just like rote knowledge. And it was pretty fast.
Yeah.
But the fact that there was some thinking involved tells me that this isn't like rote yet. Um,
I think
So
that particular pair of notes, especially too, because yeah, it's um yeah, that because that's the weird one is in terms of like B sharp is not usually a thing, C flat is not usually a thing, and so that's kind of like the jagged edge in uh accidentals.
totally. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So can you just play a random fret on the low E string? What note is that?
A sharp,
Okay, do another one.
uh
What's
F sharp.
that? Yeah, do it.
I was like, should I try flats? I how do I choose whether to represent it in terms of a sharp or a flat?
Right.
That's
That's a
the
good
calculus
question.
that's going on.
Yeah, yeah, it's totally arbitrary. You can say F sharp, G flat. You can just say
Okay,
both because
great.
like sharps and flats are really about function.
Yeah,
Yeah, and right now there's no function.
right.
So you could just say both.
Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah. Let's have you play another note on the low E string.
E flat. I
Okay.
did myself there. Yeah, 11th fret. Um, I'd keep wanting to say B sharp. Yep. In my mind, that was a B sharp, but that's also a C. So,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Let's flip this around. I think I might have somebody who's arriving. Hey. Okay. So, yeah, okay, now I'm just gonna play a bunch of frets and I'm gonna have you tell me what they are.
okay.
Okay, what is this one?
G sharp, F. I can't see if that's G flat, we'll say. C? I can't, I think parallax. B.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
so one way that you could tell is that it's on like a dotted fret, right?
Yeah, I just put that together.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
like look this is interesting. Like maybe practicing in a mirror would actually help this because that some of those things might pop out.
totally. And then this one is
D.
yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So you pretty much have a grip on the low E string.
Yeah.
There's some, I think there's just like a little bit of polishing that could be helpful, like with the B sharp versus C thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but yeah, okay, let's move over to the A string.
Cool. This is going to be a lot rougher, but B flat, B, C, C sharp. Should I keep going? E flat, E, um, F sharp.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So that works with you walking up the fretboard. Now, I'm just gonna play notes that are below the fifth fret on
Okay.
the, yeah, I'm gonna play notes that are below the fifth fret on the A string, and I'm just gonna have you say what they are.
Yep. C, B, sorry. A sharp or B, D, C sharp, A flat, B flat, E.
Wait, you said
I
one more
said,
time?
first, I said B flat, then B.
Oh, okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure you didn't say E.
Yeah. A,
Yep.
D, B flat, C sharp, E, natural.
Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna go above the fifth fret.
E, D sharp, E flat. Uh, wait, hold on. Um, G, F sharp, F, A flat, G sharp, A, D flat. Ugh, no, wait. Um, I need to think. F, E flat, E, E.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool.
That,
So
that honestly went better than I thought it was going to.
yeah, yeah,
I did not re usually my knowledge of my knowledge thinks that my it stops at E because that's the octave and that's easier to
totally.
think.
I'm just taking care of something in my apartment really quick. Okay, cool. So, okay, so now what we're gonna do is do something similar where I'm gonna have you play notes on the A string, but so that you can't think with the note first and be like, "Where's the note?" But you have to
Yep.
just play a fret and make sense of it from there. I'm gonna have you close your eyes and then play a note on the A
Cool.
string.
Okay. All right. This is interesting. All right, ready.
Okay, cool. What is it? Or, play it and then you can look at it and figure out what it is.
Oh, just like a random note. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then you get to look at it and then be like, what is that?
Well, I already know that it's a major third, and so I'm just going to say that's a C sharp.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Play another one.
Whoop. That's what. That's a major seventh, so I think that's an eight. We'll call it G sharp.
Okay, your desire to figure this out by ear is very commendable. But I think that we want to try to do it by looking at the fretboard in this case,
Okay.
which is
Okay.
not
So
something that I would give to people in most musical contexts. But in this case,
yeah.
what we're doing is just like straight up fretboard stuff.
Okay.
So
So you
yeah,
want me to close my eyes, pick a note, open my eyes, look down, and then say what it is.
yeah, yeah. Maybe don't even play it. Maybe
Okay.
it's that you
Okay.
can't use your ear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. No, I like I like inventing exercises, and that was one that I might workshop that on my own after this because that was fun. But okay, let's go E. No, not quite. D. Sorry. Nope. F sharp. F sharp.
Yep.
Okay. I just had some coffee.
Nice.
Great thing. Let's go D,
Yep.
and then A flat. I'm gonna try to pick the note that is probably most likely. Well, actually, no. That's kind of, yeah. Anyway. Let's go here. That's B flat.
Hmm.
F. I'll make it so that D flat or C sharp. A flat. B. Uh, D sharp. Yeah, something I'm noticing just right away is like the notes that I don't use very much are the ones that I'm having a harder time even just saying the names of, let alone
Hmm.
just like knowing where those positions are.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That
Makes
makes a lot
sense,
of
but
sense.
like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And so this points to a bigger, I think a bigger outlook that I have both in my sort of, my teaching and also in my practicing, which is that like when we're making music, when we're operating in a context, we tend towards certain things. We tend towards certain options. And so we get to know those options pretty well. But when we're playing in real time, we're also likely to go for the things that we know best because we want to be able to work functionally, like we don't want to miss things. And so that means that, if you are, like you're less likely to reach for something that you're less confident in,
yeah,
and if you use it, it's less likely to be successful. So in practicing, what we want to do is find ways to just like smooth out the whole terrain so that the things that you don't know as well are things that you have the time to figure out. And so I think this sort of practice technique, like even just seeing the types of thinking that you're needing to do about the A string, it could be pretty useful. And I also think that you're going to get results pretty quickly. Because I think that really all that you need is just like some polishing with this.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, let's try just to make sure that we're going to be on track for success here. Let's try this with the D string. So
Okay.
maybe before you even try to walk up chromatically, just try finding a note and not playing it, but just putting your finger over the fret and then saying what that note is called.
Let's go there. This is gonna be a bit harder. A flat.
Hmm.
Um, C.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. E,
Hmm.
F sharp.
Hmm.
Um, Seems like this entire fret is the one that like really throws me off across most of the strings. Let's see. I'm trying to is this B?
Hmm. Okay, so let's talk about that really quickly. Okay,
Yeah.
so yes, the ninth fret is weird because there are a lot of sharp notes, and so it just kind of comes up a little bit less often. All the notes are like a little bit weirder. They don't
Mhm.
sound weirder, but they're just less likely for people to like intuit their way to them. So,
Mhm.
what is one really fast way that you can figure out that that note is B?
The way that I ended up choosing, because I was like cycling through all of the different ways that I could calculate it without just going stepwise down, is oh, this is a third, particularly a minor third, from the open string or
Oh
12th
yeah,
fret.
yeah. That's a way to do it. That's great.
So I just
Another
thought
one,
a
yeah.
third down. Yeah.
Another one.
Or a second up from this fret, which I kind of know better because it's just the octaves.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
anyway,
that's the one that I was thinking about was like the octave. You just go over two frets, sorry, over two strings, up two
yeah,
frets.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Oh, you
oh
mean
yeah.
from, oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. I was thinking the basically the over two frets down one string and then calculating it that way. But it also could work
Oh,
down.
okay. I'll just try to be really clear so that we know that we're on the
Yeah.
same page. Okay.
Yep.
So what I was talking about is that if you know what a note is on the low E string, right?
Yeah.
Then
Yep.
you can find its octave just by going, by skipping a string. So going from the E string to the D string, and you move up
Yeah,
two
yeah, yeah,
frets.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
probably easier to visualize now that I think about that. So,
Yeah, and then I think what you were maybe talking about was that this was an octave above the open A string,
yeah.
and so you were able to locate an octave that way, and then be like, oh, this is a whole step above A.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're talking about are a lot of different tools for figuring out that that fret is B, and they're all good. What we want to do, and like sort of what the purpose of this exercise is, where you just like find a note and then you're like, what is that you consciously are working on every fret on the string to do this over and over for like 5 or 10 minutes. And when you just focus on this and you have no other variables, you're not thinking about rhythm, you're not thinking about what note you're going to play next, you're not thinking about whether what you're doing sounds good, you're not thinking about a piece of music, but you're literally just figuring out what the name of the note is on the frets. I think
Yeah.
you're going to be able to cover a lot of ground like really quickly.
Okay.
Um, yeah. And and so then, obviously if you work on it today, let's say that you went off right now and you worked on it for 2 hours today, you might have to refresh yourself on it tomorrow. It might not all come back immediately. But if you were to work on it for a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow and a little bit on Saturday, and you can even just do one string at a time until you feel confident in that string for like 10 minutes at the beginning of a practice session. But I guarantee that if you spend 10 minutes just thinking about which note like what's this note? What's this
Yeah.
note? Then you'll be able to internalize it.
Yeah, I think that helps, and also now it feels like I have at least a few different ways of practicing it, and that I think that'll help lock it in, just like using uh, multiple senses, I guess, like one visually, two hearing the interval, and three just like I guess by feel, whatever that would be, kinematically or something like that,
Yeah,
kinesthetically. Yeah.
cool. That's a nice word choice. Um, yeah, okay. So do you feel like you have a set of tools now that could help you just like learn note names across the full fretboard?
Yes, yeah. And I feel like that's going to be pretty important with the chord stuff too.
Yeah,
Being able to spell that a lot more easily.
totally. Okay, cool. So let's jump into the chords.